That's so funny. I was just talking to the bartender at my bar down the street here in New York City, and he's from Minneapolis too. So I'm always like, "What's it like out there, man?" Like I've heard there's a pretty sick like music scene, and I've met a few bands from that area. What's it? Unturned is like one of the
Oh,
coolest
yep.
ones to come out of the area. They're so sick. But yeah, I'm like it's like a spot I want to get to. I just don't know
Dude,
when I'm gonna have the opportunity, but I want to get there.
yeah, yeah. It's such a great spot. Like I moved up here probably almost 5 years ago now, just because I had known people in the music scene. So like I finally moved up here. But like there's shows going on like every night. It kind of think of it as like a smaller like New York City where like there's shows going on every night, but like our downtown like big skyscraper area is super small, so the rest of it's just like a big just like chill like town at the
That's
same
cool.
time. It's such a nice mix.
That's dope. I love that. Yeah. I like I I don't get a chance to go to a lot of I wouldn't even like cities that are less populated than New York. I wouldn't even say smaller, but like when I went to Philly, I was like, dude, this is fucking sick. Like this is so cool because you can walk around. There's not like a billion fucking people like in your way, but
Right.
you can still get everything that a city has to offer. Like I
Hmm.
New York's cool, but there's too many fucking people here.
Do you guys have any questions before we get started?
No.
No, I'm pretty much set.
Hell yeah. Well, my only question for you is: do you each have an unopened beverage that you'd like to participate in the opening crack with?
Yes.
Sick.
Let me get near the microphone.
Oh boy, I don't know if I should do this, but all right. Is there a countdown or how's this roll?
Yeah, so I'll count us down, and then
All
we'll
right.
crack it, and then I'll do the little intro, bring the two of you in, and we'll just have a good time.
All right.
All right. In three, two, one. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This week, I'm sitting down with the band Suburban Surf Club. How y'all doing?
Fantastic, Michael. Thank you for having us.
Dude, of course.
Absolutely.
For people that aren't aware, Suburban Surf Club is this is a new phrase that I've come across. You know, you've heard me say Prairie Surf Rock, but this is Surf Gaze from New York City, doing some cool stuff out there on the East Coast. Um, you put out a debut EP this year that we're going to talk about. But before we get too far, can you kind of go between the two of you and say who you are and what you do in Suburban Surf Club?
Sure, I'll go first. My name's Aaron Barkstrom. I play bass and I'm the lead singer of Suburban Surf Club. Founded the band in 2023 and have since seen it grow and I've had the privilege to work with people like Dan now. I don't even think work's the right word for it. You know what I mean?
Privilege is not the right word, but we'll roll with it.
Yeah, something like that.
And I'm Dan. I'm the drummer for Suburban Surf Club, and the reason for my existence is the fact that it was between Aaron, Marcelo, and whoever was game enough to fill in on the drums for the live event. But the actual recording was done by Marcelo for the drum tracks, that is, for the
Okay.
original two singles. And so I actually heard of Suburban through my brother because my brother and Marcelo went to college together. And so after a while, they were just like, hey, we're looking to have somebody fill in for this gig. And I was like, all right, throw me whatever you want me to learn. When I had learned it, played a gig with them, as good or bad as it went, I had a blast. And I actually, when I was listening to their first singles, I was immediately a fan. It's not stuff that I usually listen to, but I was like, this stuff's kick ass. Like it's really, really good. It's really catchy. And so I'd asked them straight up, like, do you guys want a full time drummer for this as opposed to, just seeing whoever the hell fits in? And they were like, sure. And the rest is history, as they say. So
Well, I'm going to dive a little bit more into that history here in a second. Obviously, like we mentioned, Marcelo is the third member of the band. He's not with us tonight, so this is where I normally say this before we pour one out in their honor. By pour one out, I say we have a drink in their honor since they're not
Yeah.
here with us
I'm gonna
on the
pour
recording
it into
tonight.
my mouth.
We don't waste alcohol around here.
He's working tonight. I was gonna make up like a really bad story about it, but like he's actually working.
It's fair.
Pour one out for Marcelo. Free Marcelo. That used to be a thing in the band. We were all like, he like couldn't make a gig one weekend, and so everybody was like, "Where is he?" And I was like, "Dude, he's in jail." So everybody's like, "Free Marcelo." We were gonna make shirts and stuff too. I'm still thinking about it.
Oh, we better
Yeah.
absolutely capitalize on that.
Yeah.
Uh, but like you mentioned, Suburban Surf Club started in 2023. Those first singles I think dropped in like June of 2023, and they were Skate
Yeah.
Fast, Walk Faster, which one great title.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's got that. It gives you that little bit of a chuckle as you're like reading it.
Yeah.
And then Oakland '78. So originally, obviously, it was just Aaron and Marcelo. Like, how did you two decide to kind of form Suburban Surf Club, and then kind of like start with those initial singles?
Yeah. So I used to be in another band in New York City called Modern Fictions. Love those guys. They're still gigging around. But we it all started really like it's funny when you look at like the chain of reactions that had to occur for us to become a band. Because it was a mistake. I we were talking about two different studios to record this like Modern Fictions like some singles, and one of them was called like the Bunker Recordings, which is the one we went to, and then there's Bunker Studios, which is in New York City. I ended up booking just through like miscommunication, booked the Bunker Recordings because I know Mike Dwyer from there. He's really good, and I was like, wow, I'm really glad all my bandmates were like cool with us, excuse me, booking like a few hours north of the city. And they thought they thought if we booked Bunker Recordings, or the Bunker Studios. So, um, things just like we ended up dissolving because our schedules didn't work out. But I was still on the hook for time at the studio. I put a deposit down. So I was like, well, I actually had some demos written that just like I didn't have any really sort of direction that I wanted to take on them. I just liked having them. Like it was cool to listen to. I was like, I wrote this, I no plans for it. It didn't fit in anything that I was playing at the time, but like it was like indie. And I was like, getting into turnover around that time too, so trying to go for that vibe. Um but yeah, I was like, you know what? Why the hell not? Like, I already have the studio time booked. Like, let's go record these songs. Um, so I did everything on that. From singing. Marcelo did harmonies, so I got to give him credit for that. But I did bass and all of the guitars in there. One of the songs has like four guitars. Um, but I'm not like a good drummer. So I'll say it, I don't know how to drum. So I needed a drummer, and Marcelo being in my other band at the time, what makes sense, who you've interviewed before. I was like, dude, I just like, can you do me this huge favor? Like, can we go up to, it's literally like Bunker Recordings. It's such a cool spot. It's in Catskill, New York. It's in the mountains. It was actually the coldest weekend of the year when we recorded that album, and it's like summer music, which I thought was funny, but it was literally like -4, I think, at one point during the day or something. But that was, we recorded at Mike's house for that, and it was, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, happy accident to be able to get us those two singles. Daniel said, like those singles are great, and obviously it made Daniel want to kind of be a part of the band. How many people? How many people were kind of flowing in and out as that like ominous like third person drummer before Daniel took the full spot?
Well, I have to give credit to our very good friends and also Beers with Bands alumni, Sunday Morning, who are on tour right now. If you're, I mean, they're by the time this comes out, they won't be. Well, who knows? They play a lot of shows. Go see them at a show. They're Sunday Morning. They're from Connecticut. Don't let any imposters fool you. They're the real deal. But yeah, we had Wes, who actually he sings in the band. He no longer plays guitar in the band. He never played bass in their band either, as far as I know. But he filled in on bass for us, and Eric, the drummer, filled in on drums for us. So it was Marcelo and I on guitars, and we had Wes on bass and Eric on drums. And I filled in on bass for Sunday Morning a few times. So we have this kind of very nice, like amicable relationship of just like, I dig your music, I want to play it. And so shout out to Eric and Wes for helping us out. And then a few shows after that, Dan came in.
Oh yeah. Do you? I mean, this probably like a deeper question that I could ask later too. But like, obviously, being able to play as that four piece, do you see? Not to get our head of ourselves, but do you see Suburban Surf Club ever going back to being a four piece, or do the three of you kind of feel like it's more tight knit as this three piece that you have?
Well, we've talked about it. I think like if this ever catches traction and we're starting to play a lot more and stuff, like I think it would the next decision would probably be like, all right, can we get somebody for like touring and playing shows and stuff, just because that's how we record. Is it's not just a single guitar, it's multiple guitars layered. And I think just for the live sound it'd sound really cool. But I have to say though, playing as a three piece live is a lot of fun because it's just like it's very cavalier. I feel like it's like just us out there.
Yeah. You also have so much more room on the stage.
So
Like I
much
see,
more room, and in the van.
yeah. Like I see some friends that like they have like five people in their band, and like it's great. I love every person of
Yeah.
every band, but then it's just like one person never gets to stand on the stage. Like the singer's
No.
usually like on the floor in your face, anyways, and then everywhere else is like kind of huddled, like kind of how we were talking about earlier. Like Minneapolis is a great music scene. Some of the venues have very small stages where I've watched a lot of people just like cram on and just like hope that you don't fall off that stage.
Yeah, you're lucky if you're not like sitting on top of somebody's shoulders. I get that. I get it.
So obviously, like I mentioned, well, I guess those two songs were kind of join the club, to join the Suburban Surf Club, get that initial glimpse. But now here we are, a year later. Granted, a few months after the release of the EP, but it's the debut EP, something higher. I think it's what, 5 tracks that are super
Yeah.
solid. You started out with kind of releasing a few singles on the way, which I want to talk about here in a second. But like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but Dan, you're the drummer on these recordings, right?
Yes, yes,
Hell
certified.
yeah,
Yes, all five of them.
hell yeah. Well,
And if Dan were to turn around right now, that's where we recorded drums, in his
nice.
basement. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you kill it. So it's nice to see. For people, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have known unless I did digger deeping that there's two different drummers between the kind of two releases. But it's nice to see the different styles between Marcelo and you, uh, leading into like what's shaping the band as it's kind of coming along.
Right, and a big part of that is actually um, our backgrounds. Marcel listens to a lot more diverse music than what I listen to. I'm very stuck in my ways with progressive rock. Like that's my main background. So me being OCD and numbers driven, it just suits me so well. And so I like to fill shit in where it doesn't necessarily belong. But a lot of these tracks, at least on the EP, he had programmed, or at least he had some initial draft that I worked off of and filled in my own stuff. So for the most part, at least the formatting of the songs for the EP, the 5 tracks for something higher, there was at least an initial idea that I had to work off of, and that gave me a good direction as to like, okay, don't overplay the fucking thing, just play the music, just let it breathe. And so that was the product of what that EP became. And so, especially the two singles, those are very airy. There's a lot of musical space in those. And with these, I mean, I'm sure as you probably have heard, it's a lot darker. There's a lot more going on. There's just more in it. So
Mm-hmm.
it, melds well with my stuff as well. So there's a lot more details in the background, but at the end of it, I'm still trying to play to the song rather than have everything be about the drums or be about a certain instrument or what have you. So, that's just the product of us kind of, like you said, this is this new pathway that the songs are bringing us to.
Yeah, I mean, this EP is great. It does have the meteorness, like kind of what you're saying. Like it's a little bit more jam packed, than like the initial singles. And like we started releasing the singles for the EP. First with Nothing After 1981, POS, which I felt like was a great single to kind of like lead into what was to come with this EP. Um, what was the decision behind like that song being like the first like, hey, we're releasing an EP, like this is our first glimpses to like what we are now.
You can take it, Dan, if you want. I feel
Oh,
I feel like I feel like you can bring the most unique perspective because this was your first single with us.
well, okay, that's fair. Yeah, I can definitely attempt to get a cohesive answer on this one. Um, so, I mean, in general, this is actually my first written piece of music with any band that's been, sent out there, other than, crappy YouTube videos from 10 plus years ago, but that's
I'm gonna
historic.
I'm gonna find those.
They're out there, dude. You look hard enough, they're there.
Yeah.
But as far as like actually having something produced, this was my first ever example that I've made with somebody and put out there. So with POS, it was more of just like we went through the track list and we're just like, okay, so what's quintessentially the sound of what this EP holds? And a lot of that was in POS because, as I said, it had a lot more depth to it as far as there was more darkness. There was a bit more digging into it as opposed to having that light, airy sort of soundscape. And it kind of had a touch of everybody as the band holds right now. So there was a bit of Aaron's influences there, a little bit of Marcelo's, and then myself. So we're each able to basically have an equal part of everybody represented in that song. So we just said that's perfect to throw out there as a single.
I feel like that's a great answer. Like it's it's all of you coming together, and like kind of how I mentioned, it's this new glimpses to like, oh, this is what Suburban Surf Club's going to be, or like how we're starting to shape this. It's nice to have all the touches in there, and then you follow it up with Drug Holiday, which another catchy song, has a great music video I'm sure we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Thank you.
Um, like that was fun to watch. And I don't know what it was. There was something that in my time that like has clicked where we all remember the music videos that were like super in depth storytelling. Like the one that I always think of that's like always over the top is like the I'm gonna blank on it. It's Pierce the Veil with Kellen Quinn when the not Bulls on Parade. It's the one where they do the heist. But anyways, besides that, where like it's super overly done and
Yeah.
dramatic, and like it's cool to get those mini movies almost, but it's also nice just to have like something a little bit more chill in a music video style. And like, so I really enjoyed watching this one because it's not like in your face the entire time. We're just like following around for it and just seeing like what you guys are up to, but it was done very well.
Thank you. Yeah, shout out to my friend Eric Ambrosino. He's actually I like just through my fiance's well he's yeah, he's actually my fiance's best friend's fiance. And we've just like met through, mutual friends and stuff. And he does some really cool work. He's worked with like other musicians and stuff, but we're just like both nerds about media. And literally like the day after, like after Dan and Marcelo left, it was all recorded in my apartment too. But like the day after, like they left and stuff, we were just like hanging out in my apartment watching music videos, and we're like, this one's my favorite because like blah 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 blah. And so he was really he we had a lot of fun with it.
uh, yeah, I think it came out great. Hopefully, everyone that's listening has had a chance to watch it. If not, maybe pause or wait until the episode's done and then go watch it because you just need to go check it out. But then it both those singles lead up to the full EP which dropped in August. How did it feel to have this new set of songs? Obviously, there's three that hadn't been released yet, but like how to have the whole thing finally out and like off your shoulders.
It was great. It was like, this is us. Like this is the new Suburban Surf Club. Same kind of like we're kind of carrying over the vibes that we had from join the club. And now we're getting a little bit heavier because we wanted to. We just found that like we were having a lot more fun doing that. And I really like the two songs off of join the club. But I think we built on it for this round on something higher. And so yeah, it felt really good. It was like, wow, man, like a lot of bands don't get the opportunity to write 5 songs and have them published and like be able to release them. So that was pretty cool.
Anything you want to add to that, Dan?
Yeah, actually, something that Aaron just mentioned is just like having a blast with it. It's like, thematically speaking, we just wrote whatever the hell we wanted. And so it wasn't just like, oh, we're trying to stick to a concept or we're trying to sound like this or that. So for us, it was literally just what sounds good, what's fun, what are we going to have a blast playing live? And that's exactly what the EP became. It was just 5 songs of whatever the hell we wanted. And so that was a super, super cool thing to work on.
And that also made it really hard. Like when people find out, like I'm one of those people that I'm the first person to tell you that I'm in a band, but also at the same time, I will recoil in disgust if you ask me anything about the band. I'm like just so not like embarrassed, but just like I get shy about it for no fucking reason at all, which is so funny because I'm literally talking to somebody on a podcast. It's going to be published and listened to by a lot of people. And like, it's just like, so when somebody goes, oh, what do you sound like? You obviously play the game of like, all right, how old is this person? What frame of reference
Mm-hmm.
do they have? But at the same time, too, they're like, what genre are you guys? And I'm like,
Oh boy.
fuck, I don't know. Like and they're like, well, yeah, no, then like the next question is, what do you guys sound like? And I'm like, literally, we didn't go into this with any influences in mind, which I know isn't like it's not a thing. Like bands don't really go in and be like, we want to sound like this band unless you're really, really trying to do that. But um it's just so hard for me to articulate like who else do we sound like? I've always just had an issue with it. And I'm not saying that we're like the most unique band to ever exist on the face of the planet. I'm just saying I literally don't have frame of reference because we've all come in with different influences or maybe different influences, but not like um deliberately trying to, sound like them. So that's why I think this one was fun was we were like that song bops, like let's record it. Let's put it on there.
Yeah. No, 100%. Because like that's the thing right now too is like everyone. And don't get me wrong, this is what I listen to pretty much 90% of the time, anyways. But like, if like someone's doing Midwest emo, you know they're doing Midwest emo.
Yeah.
And then when a band comes out like you guys, where it's like just that slight variation that no one else is really doing, that's like in the pocket right now, then it's like, who do we sound like? Like we can't figure it out. We're kind of doing our own thing, but we know we're not doing our own thing because there's something else out there that's got to be like it, but we just don't know.
Yeah. What kind of unholy amalgamation of music are we? Surf gaze.
I remember my friends, whenever they would get asked about their band, they would just say, ever, like, they would just say, like, we sound like we're on the American Pie soundtrack and just call it good. Because that's
Oh, that's
literally what
smart.
they were, was just, like, that generic, like, pop punk. Um, and I was kind of, I was trying to pinpoint, like, what you guys would route into, and I still couldn't figure it out because the only other, like, surfiness bands I've listened to are more on like the prairie rock side. So like there's that slight where you guys are a little bit more heavier and like up tempo. Theirs is more like still surfy, but like just chill, kind of like going with the flow vibe. So it's like almost in that same vein, but then it's still like a turn around the corner.
Yeah. Which I listen to a lot of that type of music. That's kind of like my like home away from home sort of music where it's just like I can always listen to this and it'll always put me in like the mood that I want to be put in if I listen to that kind of like chiller very like surf influence kind of rock um lo-fi. If you throw anything lo-fi my way I'm gonna eat it up. Like that's my shit. But then on the opposite side too I listen to some like really scary shit sometimes. I'm
Uh,
hard still. I'm still hard. Like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
you got to listen to
I
something
don't let
hard
my
every once
guard
in a while to
down.
like, yeah, keep the street cred up.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
uh, but it's also cool that like you know, kind of like what Dan was saying, you guys went into this not really with like a theme or anything in mind, and these songs are what came out of it. And it like they kind of still have its even without going in with a theme, they still came out with like they all kind of sound similar. Like you can tell, like, hey, this is Suburban Surf Club. Like it doesn't sound like, oh, this is like the first song is like might like different genres or different like eras of a band. It's like all cohesive enough where it's like, okay, this is that band.
There were definitely some conscious efforts to make sure that um everything from like guitar tone to how we maybe played certain things in a certain way, that like it was still like everything still made sense. Because we could throw together like an album that like, yeah, whatever, it's like a science project, but we still were like, oh, I think to keep kind of that surf element, because hey, like we're not going to really outrun the surf element ever, it's in our fucking name. um to like throw in some some certain type of like sounding guitars and things like that. And so um I think Marcelo did a really good job of articulating what he wanted to do for the guitars, because it's a very guitar driven album. And so I think that led to a lot of like it being successful in terms of what we wanted it to sound like, even though we weren't necessarily like we need it to sound like a certain way. We were just like, as we were going throughout the process, there were certain things that we were like, we like this, and I think we should, kind of borrow that and take it for another song as well.
I mean, which translates perfectly, and like just makes the whole record fun to listen to because it, like I said, it all sounds the same. Which don't get me wrong, some bands I love them. Uh, they do have like that mix, almost like an A side B side in like one
Yeah.
EP or an LP. But it's always nice to have one cohesive kind of sound. Like that's the like I know we're in this weird age where everyone's just releasing singles every few months, and like I love as much as I get that that's like the style to go with. I'm still the guy that's like, give me a couple singles, lead it up to an EP or an LP. Give me that full story. Give me that full
Yeah.
book. I want to visually listen to it. But like, and thankfully I'm able to do it with this. But the other Ray, you get so invested in the song and you're like, fuck, I want to see where the rest of this could go. And they're just like, ha, psych, 180 for the next single. Have fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this next one's like pop, like yeah, I've had bands where I'm like not disappointed, but like I was like, holy shit, like this is it, like my Spotify top 100 like most listened to songs like of the year and stuff, and like it's on every playlist I make. And then like the next song is just like a, a different genre. And I was like, damn it, man, like you could have just, if you did an album where you just changed the like tuning that this was in but played the same song, I would be so happy. Which actually,
Right.
that sounds like a crazy idea, but wouldn't that be nuts? Like if you do an album where it's three songs, all the same like lyrical content, let's say same like beats per minute and everything, but it's just in a different tuning or a different key. Think about it, people. Somebody could do it. Somebody could do it.
uh Obviously, like Aaron, like you kind of mentioned, you like kind of like lo-fi style
Yes.
songs too. Some people I've seen recently are taking like a lot of their songs and kind of doing this lo-fi style to
Mhm.
them. If you guys were to do a lo-fi style like B-side to one of the songs on this EP, like which one would you guys want to do?
Well, so I'll answer, but Dan, I'll let you answer too because I've been talking a lot and I can't shut up. But I have beef with lo-fi songs, which isn't answering your question, Michael. I know, but I just have to get up on my soapbox real quickly. Um, when Pure Noise, instead of like giving us new albums over the pandemic, which I know they fucking had, they did a whole lo-fi album. I was so mad, and I was like, I hate this shit so much. But there is a opportunity there, and I think lo-fi songs, whether or not I want to be cool, tough guy about it, they're cool. Um, I think nothing after 1981 would be kind of a cool one because, like, I remember when, for example, again, Pure Noise did like they did like Knocked Loose or something lo-fi, and it was
Yeah.
like it's kind of it's sick. It's really cool. So I think for us, like having it, like that's something I could hear being in like a music box or something, like one of those things you rotate and like it's just that kind of musical melody, I guess. But Dan, I'll pass it over to you.
You just gave me the world's worst merch idea.
That's a thing. You can actually get music boxes done. So
What? It's
everybody,
a thing?
yeah, everybody, don't be surprised if like you know what? Actually, all right. So we can't take the idea because Green Day did it. Did you, Michael? Did you
Oh
see?
yeah, they did that whole release where like they did a music box. They did like I
Yeah.
think N64 cartridge and just
What?
yeah, because
Hmm.
they what was it, Dookie that they re-released?
Yeah, they said like unmastered or something or demastered, I think is
Yeah,
what
so
they
they put
called
it
it.
out on like everything that would just make it sound super shitty. So there was the music box, I think a 64 cartridge, and then like a bunch of other things that like play music. I think
One was like a teddy bear, one of the ones you
yeah,
like press the button on.
and I want to say like one of them was also like you remember like the hit clips from
Yeah,
like back in the day. I
Oh
think they
yeah.
my
did one of those.
god. No.
Which I was
Those were
like,
diabolical.
I love Green Day, but I was like, that's a fucking cash grab, man.
Oh yeah,
I'm the
because
biggest like I mean, I am not impervious to that. I went on the website and I was like, well, let's see how much they are.
they did one for like every single song. So like
Yeah.
that yeah, that's where it's
And
at.
nobody loves that album more than I do. But I'm not buying a teddy bear that plays like sassafras roots. That's ridiculous. But Dan, what's your answer on this? I'd love to hear your take.
Not to be a cop out, but like I think you're right. Nothing after 1981 would be awesome to have in that style. Either that or Drug Holiday, with the fact that it's just like overall, it's like it's all over the
I
guitar.
could, yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
could
just
hear
like
that.
thinking of it like either an 8-bit or something, it's just like that would be pretty dope.
I feel like if we talked to Marcel about this, he'd be like, "I actually have a whole library of these," because he did that when Marcel and I were in What Makes Sense. He actually would do like sound clips so that when we end our set, the sound clip would roll, and there was one that was just like piano and some like static noise, and it was like the melody to one of our songs. So I wouldn't be surprised if these are already in existence, and we could probably release them tomorrow.
I mean, it'd be a
You couldn't
cool like B sides thing to do. Like
It would.
aside from um like the lo-fi style. I know. Shout out Ryan from Fresh Finds podcast for his EP that he did. He had Cacophony Kid basically do like a synth version of one of his songs too, just to kind of like mix it up to end off the EP. So always all whenever a band does something cool and different for like a second release or they're releasing the songs again, doing like a B sides is always really cool.
Yeah, I do enjoy that a lot. It just helps bring another flavor to it.
Exactly. Um, so I mean, at the time of this recording, the EP's been out for 2 months, almost two and a
Yeah,
half. I don't remember what day it
I
came out.
don't even remember when it came out. Was it August?
Yeah,
Yeah,
August
I
for
think it was
sure.
August. Yeah.
Um, but like, do you feel like the EP's kind of like accomplished what uh what you wanted it to do with its release?
um, I mean, I didn't have any like. I know it's really easy to get lost in the data these days. I mean, I work in marketing, so like my whole day is data, and so I've found myself kind of unfortunately like applying that to how I measure the success of music and um been trying to get away from that recently because we're still a very small band and we haven't played as many shows as I'd like to have, but just due to like life being the way it is. So I think there's still we have a lot of work to do. And by work, like I mean doing my favorite thing in the world, playing shows. So I imagine that like throughout next year it's gonna reach a lot more ears as we play more shows. And I think there's a little something for everyone on it. We might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I think for some people, I think people will enjoy it. But we just need to. We have really big plans for next year, and a lot of that involves playing shows. But Dan, how do you feel about it?
Well, not really having any expectations for this was a blessing. It absolutely was because again, this is my first piece of produced music, um, or I guess anything in general as far as like putting a product out there that's just waiting for public scrutiny in
Right.
like the rawest sense. And so for me, like I didn't have any weird like, oh, what if they don't like it or like, I should have played that part different. I tracked whatever the fuck I wanted, and it came to be one of the best times I had. Like when we recorded it, most of those tracks, the first actual take is what hit the EP.
Oh, nice.
And so like I believe I want to say two or three of the tracks we took maybe two or three takes, and then the other two were like solid one takes, and they were all straight through. There's no cut-ins, there's no nothing. It's just straight through, and I'm just like, okay, fucking, we'll roll with it. And it fits the whole vibe of what we went for. So ultimately, I wasn't expecting any number of hits or whatever else. And like, I'll even look at the Spotify thing, and I see Drug Holiday creeping up there almost towards Oakland as far as like most listened. So I'm like, okay, that'd be cool once that peaks 1,000 plus. But having no expectations for this and just having a fucking blast was like the best thing about it.
I mean, that's the way you kind of want to go into it. Is give your like as much as some bands are always like hard on themselves with like making sure they put out something what they feel like is the best. Go in there, have fun, put out what you feel like is the best you can do, but then just let it ride, let it do its thing. And like you said, you know, drug holidays creeping up. It'll go, and then you'll that's a milestone that you'll be like, holy shit, that song made it to where that other one was. That is sick, and then you'll forget about it for a while, and it'll
Yeah.
creep up some more, and creep up some
Yeah.
more, and it just hit those milestones. And like that's the I mean, but like you said, Aaron, like in today's day and age, it's so hard to put something out and not just like constantly like check. Like every time an episode drops, like I'm literally just like I kind of refresh like every few hours, just seeing like what the numbers are, like how it's doing, but also trying to be like, okay, like I need to not focus on this and not dwell if this episode does this amount compared to like this amount. Like just put out what you think you can do. Have the fun conversations. Obviously, this more towards podcast people. Have the conversations you feel like, uh, but like it's all at the end of the day just having fun.
Yeah, and like trust me, like Spotify or the Spotify numbers are still the first thing I check when I get to work. I open up my laptop to because I ended up finding out which is this is like a total like drug addict like brain thing. Like I could check if you check your followers. You can go to like your bio section. Your followers are the one thing that updates before the monthly listeners does, which how did I find that out? Well, just after doing it for now 4 years at this point, just checking numbers like a psychopath. That's how. And so I always check like, did more people follow us? And then of course midday we get our Spotify numbers back. So I'm checking, how did we do yesterday? Um, which I guess like it helps like inform too, like if we posted, about something that day, like I mean there's enough data at this point to back that like yeah, when you post more people listen to you. And obviously in an ideal world we'd like to like put a TikTok out every day or like, a reel and stuff, but that's just not how life works sometimes. And like I think we'll have a lot more to share once we'll be playing a lot more shows next year. And so like life's going to be a little bit more exciting where we'll have the opportunity, I think, to really reach a lot more people, which I'm excited about because I think we have something cool going on here. And I'm not afraid to like say like I think if we get the opportunity to do something cool, people will attach to it.
I mean, I agree. I think what you guys have going on is really sick. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the EP's been out for almost 3 months at this point. By the time this episode comes out, it'll be four, almost five. Like, what's next on the horizon for Suburban Surf Club?
Yeah. Well, so I've been already booking like 2025 shows. So doing that, we're probably going to stay mostly Northeast in the beginning of the year, and we'll see where we can go. Maybe during the summer and stuff. But like we're looking maybe going down the coast a little bit, not too crazy far, but well, doing that, we're already writing music and stuff now too. I think the second you stop moving, you're already dead in the water. Oh, we got hoodies too now.
Nice.
Dance. We shout out to my friend TJ Redding at Monumental Merch. He helped print those. I designed the logo on there. Marcelo's cousin actually did the skulls that are on there. He did the album art. It's sr.foo on Instagram. Really cool stuff. But yeah, we're hitting the merch. We'll probably do an online store, just like making sure that we're growing and trying new things. Because if we're not doing that, then we can't really move the band forward and give ourselves more opportunities. And that's really what it's about, is giving ourselves more opportunities to play cool music in front of cool people at cool places.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, it's a deadly game when you start doing the merch store. I know how it goes. I literally will put my logo on anything because as you guys probably feel the same, like whatever logos you're getting done always come out sick. So obviously, like I got the banner behind me. I got fucking I've splurged, got fucking coasters made. I
Oh,
you
those
Nice.
are
name it,
awesome.
Yeah,
dude.
those are really cool.
But like I splurged on like mainly because like I just want to have it. I don't give a shit if it sells. I'll rep. I'll just wear it all. But like that, yeah, that hoodie came out sick.
Thank you. I meant to say before, this is probably more of like an after the call thing, but I'm gonna do it right now. So I have a shameless plug. I have a tie dye business called Hard Dyes. Follow us at Instagram, Hard Dyes. That's it. Um, and I wanted to, like, as a thank you. Oh wow, shit, he has my sticker. As a thank you, I wanted to make a tie dye shirt for you. So I'll need you to like email me your logo, and I can like print it out, put it on a shirt, dye it whatever colors you want. But yeah, like it's my passion project.
Dude, hell yeah, I'm totally down for that. That's fucking sick.
I'm such a nerd for merch. Like it's my favorite thing. It really is. And now that I have like a vinyl cutout machine. And so that was how we actually did all of our shirts originally for Suburban
Hmm.
Surf Club. Was it was like the vinyl iron-ons. I'd iron the shit out of it to make sure like that thing's not moving anywhere. Tie-dye these shirts, and then we'd sell them at shows. It was it's a very like arduous process, but it's cool at the end of the day being like, I handmade that. I handmade basically, like everything but the actual like blank T-shirt. Like I had a part in everything, and so I do admire everybody else who like screen prints and takes the initiative to like take the financial risk of like setting up screen printing shop and things like that. Because like I've tried screen printing, and if you're not good at it, it's really expensive because you just waste a lot of materials.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm glad we have a lot of friends who are very talented at different mediums of art, because it makes life a lot easier.
But I mean, like even to kind of do what you're doing with the shirts, like I've mentioned this before, and like this is a different aspect on what I mentioned before, but like bands nowadays always have someone in house that is like a savant in something. So like bands, you'll see like will have someone that's in the band that can record everything that they do, so that when they go to the studio, that's just usually handing over to like be like, hey, master this. Or you have someone that can do merch that's in house that's like saving you hundreds of thousands of dollars rather than sending it out. Obviously, once you get to a certain size or doing certain things, you gotta kind of send some stuff out. But like as you're growing, like that's great to have someone in the wheelhouse that can do that.
Yeah, it was it's just like kind of out of necessity, like not that we all work, so we had the money to like if we wanted to go get it done like professionally screen printed, like we could do that. But when we first started out, we just weren't playing enough where it necessitated us to like get a lot of merch done. And so I was like, well, how do we do this where we can do it at a scale that's appropriate for us? And that just kind of like works with the amount of space, like storage space we have. Where I'm interviewing right now is like my workshop. I'm looking at my basses and my guitars here. I have tie-dye equipment. I have actual like dyes here. I have a tie-dye shirt that's sitting over there that's like I let my tie-dye sit for 48 hours now so all the ink can soak up. But like literally, like this is what I'm working with. And so it had to be appropriate for what we were doing. And So that's why I kind of took the initiative originally and was like, let's just like make some shirts. So I had a lot of fun with it. Our first shirts, it said I hate Suburban Surf Club, and I love those shirts. I want to get them actually like I want to do like a screen print and stuff for them, but it was so funny because people would come to the show and they're like, "We liked you though," and I was like, "Yeah, but that's not the point. It's supposed to be funny."
Yeah. Uh, I mean, I know we're gonna start to transition here, and I have some funny questions. Funny to me question in my head, so I want to make sure I hang on to it to when we get to that point. Uh, but between like Suburban Surf Club or something higher, uh, is there anything that I might have missed that you want the people to know about between the entity and the product?
Mm. Wow, that's a really deep question, man. I got to think about
Man.
that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Um, I would say I think we're maybe not so secretly. I think we try to play it off cool, but we're all nerds. Like we're all very nerdy about
Oh,
music.
fucking big time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like like you ask us anything about music and we can give you a 10-minute history on like one of our favorite artists or all this stuff. So we're all just very, very nerdy about stuff. And I think it makes working with these guys a lot of fun because like we're all nerdy about other things and I think we can all teach each other stuff. And that we're like, Dan's only been in the band for about a year now, and so we're still like, you know, basically like learning things from each other every time we see each other for practice.
Mm, yeah. That. Wow. It's already. Wow. It has been. Oh my gosh, a year.
Was it November 9th, 2023 was our first show together.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. Holy shit. Um. I mean, I agree with Aaron entirely. Like, there's that phrase, that coined phrase that it's like for a band to work, if you can't hang out with them, you can't be in a band.
Mm-hmm.
With these guys, like we could have the most in-depth conversations or we could just chill out there and just not say a fucking word for an hour. Like we all show up, we all mean business when it comes time for it, but otherwise we're just a bunch of goofy fucking nerds, which is like the best time.
I mean, what I like to say is if you can survive a long car ride with your band, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, especially like here in the Midwest, like a lot of our long drives were like 6, 8 hours plus. If you can survive in the van with all of the dudes in the band and like not want to kill one of them by the end of a drive, your band's going, your band's staying together no matter what.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's like I said, something higher is really sick. I'm really stoked on it. I'm really stoked to see where the three of you kind of go from here and like on the next iterations of Suburban Surf Club. Uh, but we're gonna start to transition here to the later half of this episode. But before we get there, this is obviously Beers with Bands. You don't have to be drinking on these episodes, because I would definitely do that for you. But I know the two of you have some beverages in front of you on this fine Wednesday. What are y'all drinking tonight?
Dan, let's hear it.
Oh boy. So I made a knee jerk decision because again, me being late, I had stopped by whatever local liquor store there was, and I figured, what's the safest bet? Okay, Down East cider. There's a bunch of different things. I went for this guy. We got
Oh,
Italian
nice.
ice cider,
Ooh.
and you know what? I was like, that sounds kick ass. It's not.
I think it would be better as not like a cider, but more like a seltzer. It sounds like it would be really good.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I just grabbed it because like, oh, lemon Italian ice, fuck yeah, and then I didn't realize it was a cider, and it's just like it's almost like having a Miller Lite with an ice cube that's been dipped in lemon, and that's about what it tastes like. It's
a
so
wisp,
odd.
a whisper of lemon, like a mystery of lemon.
It's the
Right.
Lacroix of ciders.
Oh no. Well, I am proudly drinking Wrench, which is comes from Industrial Arts Brewing Company. I like to say they're like it's a little taste of kind of home for me from the Hudson Valley. It's brewed out of Beacon, New York, which shout out Beacon, very cool spot. We're actually playing I don't know when this episode's coming out, but November 16th. I'm just going to shoot my shot. November 16th. We're playing in it's technically Newburgh, New York, but it's also New Windsor, New York, at the Orange County, New York Veterans Center. But yeah, shout out to Beacon, shout out to Industrial Arts Brewing Company. I live in New York City, but they distribute down here, and they make a hell of a beer. Wrench is it's a hazy India Pale Ale. 7%. I didn't know that. That's a lot. That would explain a lot of nights that I've had on this.
That would do it.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I also shout out. I really enjoy one of the bands, one of the beers that I really enjoy. It's oh shoot, what is it? It's a Sip of Sunshine from Lawson's Brewing. That's another Northeast brewery. But like, I found out the other day, I was like drinking it. I was like, damn, this thing, it's like drinking like a rock. It's 9%, and I was like, oh yeah, that's why. But what are you drinking, Michael? I saw
You know,
Cole 45,
Colt 45. Can't go wrong.
immaculate.
Some good old American lager, malt liquor. All that fun stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, baby.
dude, I love that. Hell yeah.
Brother.
This has been a certified Colt 45 moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheap. It's in my fridge. Can't go wrong. People hate on it, but it tastes great. I miss the 40-ounce bottles. Can't find them anymore.
Really?
Which is, yeah, it's a bummer, man.
Jeez, thanks, Obama.
Right?
What
Uh,
great timing this had, right?
yeah, that
Yeah,
is true.
yeah,
We are recording the day after the election.
yeah. Hope everybody's doing okay.
Yeah, please don't kill each other. Just
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
chill out a little bit. It's all gonna work out. Don't worry about it.
Have a beer with a band. It will
Yeah.
Absolutely.
it
That'll
will
solve your problems.
it will cure your soul.
Uh, but enough of that. This is where we're going to kind of get into our
Yes,
fun
moving
moment of the episodes. This is always my favorite part of the episodes. This is where we kind of talk about some fun stories from you guys' time of music,
Nice.
whether shows, tours, time recording. Obviously, you have a music video that you recorded, so I'm sure some shenanigans happened during that. But yeah, any like I normally say, they can be anything horrendous to tremendous or any adjective in between. I usually like to think about it as like, think about the stories you always reminisce about with your friends. Those are usually the stories that everyone loves to hear. Also, don't implicate yourself with anything. Statute of limitations is a thing. Don't want anyone to go to jail. No one checks these out anyway, so yeah, I think you'll be fine.
We're well behaved.
Yeah. I only started adding that in because I can't remember who it was, but they were like, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell this story, but we're going to go for it. And I'm like, it's on you, man. You'll be fine.
Go for it. Then you're like, wait, no, you should get a lawyer. You should get a lawyer. You're not supposed to go breaking and entering into people's houses. But
If you want prompts too, I can also try and
yeah,
come up with some
prompts would be awesome. Yeah, go for it.
All right. These are obviously just to get the ball rolling. So like, you guys have been playing for a while. I know you probably toured a little bit in What Makes Sense. But in your time of music, like, what's the shittiest spot that you ever had to sleep somewhere, like while on the road and not at your place? Like, I remember one time we were on the road. I was supposed to get to bed because I was driving. I got shafted. I had to sleep in their kitchen, in the studio, which wouldn't have been that bad, but the kitchen was cement floor. It's
no.
very hard to sleep on cement floor. That shit sucked.
Yeah. So I can go first. It was my first ever time being like on the road, and it wasn't the place that was bad. It was just the arrangement that, because I was woefully underprepared. It wasn't anybody's fault but mine. And shout out to, you've probably interviewed Goalkeeper. I'd imagine they're yeah, they do a great job of marketing themselves. And so Mark, my dear friend Mark Giuliano, we stayed at his house. This was the probably, I'd say, January of 2020, and we're on tour with our friends in Real Talk, which I love those guys.
I have also been on the podcast.
So actually, a quick tangent. The shirt that I'm dyeing right now in the corner of my apartment is it's an old Real Talk shirt that I had.
Hell yeah.
So literally, right out now, of the times right now. But we were on tour with them, and so we had to find a way to pack like 9 guys into Mark's house. Um, and so two of the guys, like a few people got couches. A few people, I think they were sleeping on like a dog bed, um, which Mark's dog Smiley was not happy about. R.I.P. Smiley. And then the rest of us had to find our own arrangements on the floor. I brought my on this tour. I brought my backpack and I had a hockey jersey and like pants. That was it. That was everything I brought. And so basically, what I had to do that night, because I was sleeping on a hardwood floor, was I put the hockey jersey underneath me, and I had my backpack as my pillow. And I think I got 2 hours of sleep, maybe collectively. Like I was in and out of sleep 5 minutes at a time. Like I'm just such a diva with sleep that like if it's not perfect, I'm not gonna sleep at all.
Mm.
And that's what happened. And it was so funny because like throughout the night he has a oh it's one of those kind of like lizards, like the bearded dragon lizards, I think is what
Oh
they're
yeah.
called. And it was like in its little like glass tank right above us, and you kind of hear it like moving throughout the night. And I was like, oh shit, what's he up to now? But yeah, it was like living in a fever dream. You know when you're half in, half out of sleep, and like you're just in a new spot. I'd never been on tour like this, and like there's a bearded dragon behind me. I'm sleeping in a living room with 9 other guys. Like it felt like being in the army on acid. Like it was so weird. But I guess yeah, that's my 2 cents on that one. Dan, well, how about you? Anything weird
uh,
besides being in a band with us?
well, shit, that takes the cake, homie.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, no, so like for me, as I've said, like I have very minimal exposure to really either doing any sort of section of touring or anything more than going to the gig and then heading home after. Um, but I can share with you the worst sleeping arrangement I've had to date, if that kind of counts as a consolation.
Yeah.
Um, so every year, my family, since I could friggin' remember, even before I was born, it was a family tradition that my mother started. We always take vacation in the summer to New Hampshire, specifically a place called Wolfboro, and it's right off of Winnipesaukee Lake. And so there's, I'm sure as anybody knows any part of that area, how there's all these beach houses, lake houses, etc., surrounding the place, and there's a bunch of resorts. And Wolfboro is actually the oldest resort town in America, and so it was like the first one founded, etc. So every year we go there. It's literally just they just recently updated with Wi-Fi and some electricals and stuff, but literally all they had for years and years was just lamps. That was as far as tech went. So it's a means to unplug, and for me, I love that. I really do. I'm a sap for that, just getting away from fucking people and just being able to veg out and be away from everything. But their beds are also something they've not updated since the fucking 1800s.
Oh.
So the fireplace is central to the whole cabin. There's a couple bedrooms, etc. And usually, me being the youngest, is I'd be like, nah, I'll sleep on the couch, whatever else. But I guess me and my old fucking age or whatever, decided, yes, I'm going to sleep on the futon this time. And I was like, okay, wow, this is fucking terrible. And so there's 2 beds on either side of the fireplace. That's an option. And I'm like, I haven't slept in that since I was like maybe 8, 9 years old or so. So I was like, all right, fuck this. This is way too bad. So I get up, go to the bed. I'm like, this is fucking even worse. I'm not a tall dude. I'm like 5'11", 5'10". And so when I'm in this bed, there's at least a good foot of width. Like it's a cartoon picture of my feet hanging out of the fucking thing. And so anybody who's visited New Hampshire in the summer knows that it can probably get cold as shit. But there's also nights in the summer that it gets the Indian summer type thing. So there was a week we had gone that was like mid that section of it was super fucking hot the first part of the week, and then just like 20 degrees the next. And for somebody who doesn't fit in the bed, that was as bad as it got. It was just like I could not sleep. I was cold as fuck. I was just a miserable prick, and that was, you know, how I was until the end of the trip, and then we went home. And then my bed was the best thing in the fucking world for the next 3 days.
That's great.
But yeah,
Mike,
that's what I gotta share.
Michael, can I tell you the best sleeping arrangement I ever had on tour?
Yes.
All right. Randolph, Vermont, place called the Underground. It's a recording studio that has a music venue right next to it that has a apartment that a dude just like lives around, like literally. I I would almost consider this guy lives in the venue. It's so cool. It's there is not another place in this country that you will find this. But we had a snow. It wasn't really that bad of a snowstorm, but it was snowing. We had to stay overnight. Um, this was when I was in What Makes Sense. And we were like, shit, we can't go back to New York now. Like, it's just too dangerous of a drive. It's too long. We don't want to do it. By the time we finished, the show was like 10 p.m. It's snowing out. It's pitch black. We can't do it. We ended up, the venue owner was like, hey, man, you guys just want to like stay here and sleep here. And we were like, yeah, that works too. And so we all had air mattresses anyway at that point because we were all like just kind of ready to like we didn't know where we were staying that night, but like we had some friends around and we were like uh, we didn't know that was an option. So we stayed there. I slept on the stage that night along with like Marcelo and oh, it was so much fun. It was so weird. Like you're like we were just on here. We were just performing and we're like we have air mattresses on the stage right now. And so one of my favorite stories to tell is when it came time for us to all wake up the next morning. Marcella was sleeping in, and so what we did to wake him up was we turned on one of the stage lights, and it just so happened to be perfectly placed right where his head was. And he's like, he opens up his eyes, and it's just this massive fluorescent light in his eyes. Yeah, it was good times.
My favorite spot to that I ever slept on tour, and I still think about this for every so often. I remember it and I miss it so much. But basically, we had a 15-seater van that we took the last two rows of seats out, and I built like a bunk. So like when
Oh
we're
shit.
driving, we could store our stuff on the top bunk, but on the bottom, I just put like a futon mattress, and then like you're in like a dark cave back there during the day, dude. It like there would be times where we'd stop at someone's house, and then someone's got to sleep in the van anyways, usually half the time.
Yep.
So I would just be like, I'm gonna go sleep in the van. Granted, if we were to get broken into, I would not be able to get out into like to stop it fast enough. But I was comfortable as shit, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, that's so cool. I love like I remember seeing well they still do it too, but like all of the digital tour buses that
Yeah.
they do. Like I remember one specifically, I think it was We Were Sharks, which I'm still friends with some of those guys, but yeah, they had one. I think they had it was like an ambulance like that they converted. In the back, it was like just layers of wood planks that they had where like all the guys had their own bunks and they're like, yeah, if we get in an accident, like it's not gonna be good. But other than that, it's a great place to sleep in.
What an appropriate vehicle for that.
Yeah, yeah. I guess
I
you're
remember.
really close to
I
the
remember
source.
Forever Came Calling. They had a short bus at one point as like their
I
tour
love
vehicle.
that. I know people. I know some guy. He runs. This is way off topic. He runs like what are those Spartan races and stuff. And to
Oh yeah.
get from spot to spot, he literally like lives in a short bus that he converted and like just drives there. And I'm like, why isn't every touring band doing this?
Right.
It's so smart. I
Well, that's
mean,
the next plan
on
there, homie.
gas, yeah, on gas, it's maybe not that great, but other than that, it's pretty good.
I'm sure there's a comparison in there between like that and like a 12-seater van. It's got to be somewhat close. And you're because you're not going to be pulling a trailer since you could probably fit everything once you build up everything. You could just fit everything inside the bus.
Exactly. If somebody gave me a bus, I would have so much fun with it. I would. That thing's fully customized out. Like in my head, I'm pimping that ride.
Maybe that's it. We should make a GoFundMe for the short bus fund.
There you go.
Get Suburban Surf Club their appropriate vehicle for
Sub-
transport.
Suburban surf bus.
Dee-dee.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man.
uh, one thing that people look on the internet, they'll realize, and I don't know how devastating this is going to be for people right now. So shield your ears if you want to, but no one in Suburban Surf Club actually surfs. Uh, it's kind
Yeah.
of very misleading. There's a whole club that people join the club with the first two singles, and now they can't even go surf with you guys.
They even got me. I have the shirt and everything.
We're we're frauds. Yeah, I'll be the first one to say it. I'll be the bigger man here. We're frauds, and we're at least a club still. We don't take memberships though. You just join if you want. But yeah, we don't surf, man, and so I skate. I don't know if I don't even think that's even brownie points, but yeah,
It's a little bit because it's suburban enough where like
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
It's so funny because like I didn't grow up in a suburban town at all. Like I grew up in a neighborhood, but like I grew up in a very rural town. So um it was just like funny that like when you go through the sequence of everything that's in our name, you're like, it's a complete misnomer if you think about it.
Until you get to club, then it's just a
Yeah.
bunch of fucking nerds together.
Suburban Surf Band, maybe that'd be a little bit more accurate.
Nah, fuck that. Sounds better.
But I guess I while we're on the topic, and Michael, keep me honest. I don't know how much time we have. I know you probably want to keep these podcasts, to a certain length, but I'd be remiss if we didn't go through how the name came about.
I would love to know.
Since we're talking about it, somewhere deep inside the caverns of my brain came this name. I was listening to kind of a lot of that cool like sort of lo-fi indie kind of music. Sort of laid back kind of stuff like the band Hers. I was listening to Turnover, um a few other bands that I'm blanking on right now. But I was just like kind of putting together like a vibe playlist for that cuz like I said, I really enjoy that music. And I have very specific tastes when it comes to that. There's a very fine boundary that I'll explore outside of for that. But I was like, all right, let me just like put together a playlist, and I like to name my playlist something fun. And so just out of the blue, I had Suburban Surf Club LLC come as the like I don't even know where that came from. But our name came from a playlist I created basically, and then I used that playlist as inspiration for like when we went into the studio. Um, our producer, the producer, when I sent him the demos and stuff, he's like, okay, like I love what the direction here, but like, is there anything that you want to do in terms of producing in the studio to make it sound like X, Y, and Z? And I was like, well, I kind of like all the vibes that are on this playlist that I just so happen to make. Like, but like, I I decided on the band name maybe a month before we went into the studio. So it was like that close. Like the first time we're ever recording, we almost didn't have a band name before we went to the studio.
Which also is crazy that it literally came up a month before going into the studio, where most bands come up with a name before they even have an
Yeah.
opportunity to go to a studio in general. Not by just a month, but like months.
Yeah, like so Skate Fast in Oakland 76. I think they were swapped, but literally like as demos on my computer. Like all of this, it just when I mean we like I had this studio time booked, I had to use it, and I was just like, fuck it, let's go for it. Oakland was I think it was Indie Project number one. That was literally the title of it. And then Indie Project number two was Skate Fast, and we ended up flipping them. But like that's just how kind of we're almost like an accident if you think about it, that we've just it kind of played along with, like rolled with the
Yeah,
punches.
yeah, I've been told that all my life, so now it's making sense. Wow, that's a cool story. It's the first time hearing about it.
Wow, I feel like I usually can't shut up, so like I feel like that story would have come out at some point.
No, yeah, definitely a lot of happy accidents have happened with Suburban Surf Club, between name, getting the band started with you and Marcelo, adding in Dan, and then obviously going from here. Hopefully, there's no more accidents, and we just get to see what you guys can intentionally do
Yeah,
together. But
just
we'll see what
happy, no
happens.
accidents.
Yeah. Um, this has been a great conversation all night talking about Suburban Surf Club, and I've had a great time. I like to leave these episodes off on a high note. Not to say that we aren't already on that point, but like, I guess my final question to the two of you is: in your time so far in Suburban Surf Club, what has been your favorite moment, or I guess favorite happy accident that has possibly happened to get us to where we are now?
I'll leave it to you, Dan.
Man, you always spotlight me at the wrong times where I'm like really in thought, going through the Rolodex here, trying to figure it out. It's a very good question. I would probably say, I mean, I have a couple different things that are tied as far as like live performances and everything else, but like I want to say like my most memorable thing that always sticks out to me is like as soon as we wrapped up the recording for the EP. And I was just like, wow, that's all it took. And for years and years and years, it was like something that I was like, oh, I'm just like hard on myself. It's like I'm not good enough to do that. I'm not ready to do this. I'm not proficient enough in that. And the fact that we just like actually went ahead, said, fuck it, let's just do it. And these guys led me in the right direction because other than drums, I'm musically illiterate. Like I used to play saxophone. That's been 10 years plus gone. Um, but like anything else, recording, mixing, getting things together, like I am useless in that department right now. So I sit on my drum throne, I figured it out, and he was like, "Yeah, tracks are done." I'm like, "So that's it?" And he's like, "Yeah, we just gotta mix it a little bit and throw some EQ, whatever else." And I'm like, "Okay, fucking all right." So for me, I think that's just like I'm somebody that's so analytical about things to the point where it's like paralytic and it keeps me from just doing things. And the past few years, I'm not going to get all too deep into it, but the past few years I've allowed myself to fuck up and just do things. And so even though I didn't feel necessarily prepared for it, I sat down, had the click tracks in my ear, and fucking we made the EP. And so as soon as that was done, I was just like, wow, what the fuck was I doing? Like I was just stopping myself for no reason. And so, not only for the band, but for myself, I was like, that was such a huge moment to be like, I just fucking did that, dude. I just fucking did that. I mean, I didn't do it alone, obviously, but I did it. And so, as corny as it sounds, that was such a huge breakthrough moment for me. And I think that's going to last my entire life with me. I genuinely think so.
And I'll add for mine. I think it would be we played a show at a venue in New York City called Pianos, and um, I'm always somebody who I think the term is leading with your chin kind of through life sometimes. When it comes to things that I'm like truly passionate about, like I take a lot of risks sometimes. Like I've booked shows where it just, it wasn't successful. Like, that we didn't get the right amount of people that we wanted out and like we've had some, like you do that in every band, every stage of it. Like, you have certain shows that stick out in your mind that you're like, damn, that was a big like learning moment. Um, Luckily, we had this show that I booked and like I was very careful about like who are we gonna have on, who's gonna be a good blend with like what we're playing, and it was just it was a, like it just felt good. It was finally like a show that we had where the room was packed, and I was like, we did it. Like I don't need to be in a band that's filling out 1,000 people, 1,000 cap rooms. Like that alone, it's a small venue, but like it just felt good. We had a good set, which was awesome. All the bands on the show were like excellent, and just everybody had a good time. And I was like, wow, we're doing it. Like that was like the first like Suburban Surf Club show where I was like, luckily I I had enough control on like the outcome of the situation, but also a lot of responsibility to make sure that it worked out. And like working with the bands that we worked with, who brought out a lot of people, and we had a lot of people who talk to us after, and like it was just like a celebration. And that's what I love about that room of pianos is that it never feels like it's just a gig. like the way the room is, it just feels like everybody's there celebrating the music, and it's just a great vibe. And I was like, you know, finally this was a risk that I took that like it paid off, and it just the vibes were great that night. And so I still think back to that night a lot. Just as like, yeah, we can do this shit.
I mean, two solid moments. I hope you keep having those vibes where you keep feeling like you're doing the right thing and you keep going from here. Like I said earlier, Something Higher is a great EP. Everyone listening, if you haven't listened to it already, please go listen to it. I'm really stoked to see what the future of Suburban Surf Club looks like. And, hope maybe we'll get back together LP1, or who knows
Yeah.
what the future holds. I'm stoked to check in with you guys down the road and see how much things have changed or not changed, or where you guys are at. Um, if anyone's looking for merch, music, or Suburban Surf Club in general, where can they find it?
We will be opening an online store. I can't promise it's going to be this year, but it might be looking like 2025. Other than that, come by to our shows. Like I said, I don't know if this episode's going to be out by then, but we do have a show November 16th um, at the Orange County of New York Veterans Center in New Windsor, New York. But if not, if you happen to miss us for that show, we will be booking a lot in 2025. We already have some shows for February and March on the schedule, and there will definitely be a lot more. So, um, the best way to see us and the most fun to see us, I think, is live. I think we put on a good show, or at least we make an effort to do it. So that's where you really want to catch us.
At least put us up on Instagram. That's where you can catch all the new dates coming up as well, because we're fairly active on that and TikTok. And
We're semi famous on TikTok. Semi famous on TikTok. We got, a few thousand followers. We've had some video. We have a video that's, over 1 million views. So like we're kind of a big deal. But no,
mm,
honestly, like yeah, follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok. It's at Suburban Surf Club. You can't miss it. Um, but yeah, that's where we put up anything from from news, just or just funny videos or videos that we think were funny. But yeah, it's a good time.
And if anyone's looking for, some tie dye apparel, or wanting to get some stuff done, where can they find that out as well?
I'm only on Instagram with it so far, but at hard dies, the word hard, and then dies like DYES, um, right there on Instagram. We're the only one. Don't let the imitators fool you. And that's another just like passion project that I feel like my kind of like true creative like side really shows out on there. And so not everything for on that page is for sale, but it's just it's a way to showcase some art.
Uh, and one more plug, Dan. I can cut this if you want, but if you're looking for a house in Connecticut and you're wanting Dan as a realtor, how can people reach out to Dan to get a nice fancy old house, flat, apartment, whatever you're looking for?
oh boy, who put you onto this? Um, so I mean, the most universally easy thing to do would be to follow me on Instagram and then just DM me whatever the hell kind of reason you have for following me. And yeah, Instagram's gonna be Dan Drums 99. Really simple, at Dan Drums 99. I don't post. I'm an old man, but if you could reach me through there, I'd love to help you find a place in Connecticut. Absolutely.
Well, you heard it here. Depending where you found this episode, either it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads. Blue Sky is the new one because Twitter's going downhill. X,
Holy
whatever.
crap, there's a whole list.
It's a lot, man. It's hard nowadays. Or you watch the YouTube version, you got to see their lovely faces like I did tonight. Check the hyperlinks down below. Go follow Suburban Surf Club. Be ready for new music, new merch. Be ready for that merch store. Be ready to get all those sick hoodies. Hopefully, y'all can still get one. Go follow Hard Dies. Get some. Check it out. Maybe get some stuff done. And then be sure to hit up Dan to solidify the trifecta and get a house in Connecticut if that's your thing. I don't know. I've never been to Connecticut. I don't know how it is. Don't judge me. But dude, Aaron, Dan, one last big thank you for taking the time out of your Wednesday to sit down with little old me and talk about your band. I had a great time. You guys killing it.
Thank you, man. This was a blast.
Yeah.
I love this. We do have to circle back and do another one if you're willing to have us.
Always down. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll look for any excuse to have a beer with beers with bands.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Everyone, like I said, go follow Suburban Surf Club. Go listen to Something Higher. And I'll catch everyone on the next episode. See ya.
Thank you, dude.